The Boston Celtics just robbed the NBA as Brad Stevens gets involved on his late time thinking and pulls off a fantastic trade here for the Boston Celtics, shipping away Jrue Holiday back to his team that he was previously on before going to the Celtics in the Portland Trail Blazers for a nice shiny guard in Anthony Simons, plus multiple other assets in draft capital. So what will this mean for Joe Mazzulla, this Boston Celtics squad, and how they really shape this roster as they look to shed some more salary and still duck below these aprons? We'll be diving into all of this and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I am Bruce Veliz, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic showing your love and support on the channel. And Brad Stevens came through with an absolute blockbuster here today to really shake things up. And for tomorrow's video, I have something talking about some potential trades that I thought weren't going to happen, and they were going to look to shed some other salaries to do so. And it's looking like that's going to be the case with this move coming down tonight. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Personally, I think the Boston Celtics did a fantastic job in this trade, and Brad Stevens once again deserves his flowers as we put our trust into the great genius behind the scenes. So let's dive in to this report here coming from the Boston Celtics, as once again we get a late night trade bomb here from Shams Charania, with Brad Stevens working late night on the phones, getting involved with the Portland Trail Blazers once again. And I want to give a shout out to my boy Patrick Billings, my co-host here. In a recent video, we talked about some trades for Jrue Holiday, and he predicted Jrue Holiday going to the Portland Trail Blazers in that deal. He's talked about it multiple times here on this channel to me personally, and he realistically called this deal. Unfortunately, I tried to coordinate with him. He is unavailable to get here on the video at the moment, but we see the big news come in here for us today that the Celtics have traded Jrue Holiday to the Portland Trail Blazers, a team that he was previously on before, for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks. If we want to dive in and explore why this move happened, Portland makes an aggressive move to reacquire Jrue Holiday, who that franchise originally received from the Milwaukee Bucks deal in the Damian Lillard trade just 2 seasons ago. They flipped him obviously to the Celtics for Malcolm Brogdon and for Robert Williams. They ultimately turned Malcolm Brogdon into Deni Avdija, and now they get back Jrue Holiday alongside that piece and Robert Williams onto this team, where Boston is getting 2 obviously second-round picks alongside Anthony Simons, who is on an expiring contract going into the next season. For Boston, this is obviously going to be an extremely active offseason, as it now kicks off with them obviously making this first trade of trading Jrue Holiday, a player who played a critical role in the Celtics 2024 NBA championship run. The Celtics still remain engaged on trade talks surrounding multiple key players on the roster as well, sources say, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for other trades revolving around this Celtics team, as obviously we know they still have to shed salary, and we've heard the rumors of them potentially exploring Porziņģis deals and pursuing Sam Hauser deals, and we've broken those down on the channel. But before we dive into any more reports going over if this is a win, is this a loss for the Boston Celtics, and how ultimately I really do feel the Celtics did rob a team in the Blazers in a deal like this, I want to give full praise to a guy in Jrue Holiday who really played his whole heart out here for this Celtics team and truly embodied what being a selfless player was for the Boston Celtics organization. He came in and automatically had to sacrifice his role, being a second or third star in the Milwaukee Bucks, and transitioning to the Celtics squad, being that 4th, 5th starter in this Celtics lineup offensively. And he accommodated to that role perfectly and adjusted, being one of the best 3-point corner shooters last year in the playoffs, while also being that tenacious defender, being that gritty, grindy guy working those stocks alongside Derrick White to help the Boston Celtics get key steals in big moments, specifically in games 3 and 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals last year versus the Indiana Pacers. And that is something that is going to be vitally missed within this Celtics core. Even though Anthony Simons is going to be a great piece, I am truly going to miss Jrue Holiday for not only what he represented on the court for the Celtics as a great 2-way player, but also what he represented off the court as a great leader and a great person in this Boston Celtics city. Best of luck for Jrue Holiday on the Portland Trail Blazers, and we'll have to see if he does stick around. When looking at the Celtics side of things, getting into this more, this trade can happen, right? This trade can go down, as it will go down by July 6th here. Here are the salaries that are going out for the Celtics. Simons, $25 million. $27 million now coming back for the Boston Celtics. So the Celtics are getting off a combined $72 million owed from Jrue Holiday over these next couple of seasons. They're projected to save $40 million in the luxury tax savings, which is another thing that the team is also dealing with ramifications. And now they need to drop $18 million below to get underneath the second apron. That still obviously would require another move, either a Sam Hauser and another contract, or potentially just a Kristaps Porziņģis deal to do that. But the Celtics are inching closer and closer to getting to that point of being able to drop into the first apron and have the flexibility to explore bringing back some of these key free agents. For Portland, they get Jrue Holiday, who once again, $30 million on last year, $32 this year, $34 the next, $37 after that with a player option. The Celtics are getting back Anthony Simons, who is on a $25.9 this year and is going to be on a $27.7 million contract next season. The Celtics do save $5 million there. Have to obviously still shed some salary, and with Kristaps Porziņģis and Sam Hauser going to have to run into those kind of complications, but it is something to keep an eye on. The Celtics in this trade also got 2 second-round picks, which makes this an absolute beast of a haul for the team. And in return, they're going to be getting the 2030 Knicks second-rounder and the 2031 Blazers second-rounder, in addition to Anthony Simons, all in exchange for Jrue Holiday. Like I said, in my personal opinion, this is a great trade for the Celtics. Simons, over the last couple of seasons, has been a key piece for the Portland Trail Blazers as a shot creator, as a scorer, someone who can deliver from three-point range, average 20.6 points, 5.1 assists, and 3.3 three-pointers per game for the Portland Trail Blazers. And from Justin Turpin, he has a career 38.1% three-point shooter, where he shot 36.3% last season on 8.5 attempts per game. He would have ranked third on the Celtics last season, just behind Jayson Tatum and Derrick White. And the best part is, he just turned 26 15 days ago. So he's a younger player, gets them, once again, what the Celtics want to do. Get younger and get cheaper and find a guy that can fill in and play within this team. I assure you, with a guy like Anthony Simons really coming into this roster for this Boston Celtics squad, this is going to help fill in that offensive void that is going to be out with Jayson Tatum, but also fill in that offensive void that they are losing with a guy in Jrue Holiday as well. Now, for Simons, he's obviously not the greatest defender, so he's going to have to get better on that side of the ball with the Boston Celtics, but coming into a lineup with Joe Mazzulla, I think he'll be able to fit in, be that shot creator off the dribble, honestly, as a catch-and-shoot guy as well, alongside Jaylen Brown and Derrick White. And if we see a lineup with Derrick White, once again, now rotating to point guard, as he was supposed to come and be that starting point guard just 2 seasons ago before they traded for Jrue Holiday. If you do not forget, when they traded away Marcus Smart, Derrick White was supposed to be that starting point guard. Then they got Jrue Holiday, they moved him to the 2 guard. But with Derrick White now going to be that lead guy, you have a lineup of Derrick White, Anthony Simons, Jaylen Brown, whoever at the power forward position without Jayson Tatum out, and then if you have Porziņģis or Cornette or whatever filler center there, with the depth alongside Peyton Pritchard and some of these other younger guys, Baylor Shireman, Jordan Walsh, depending, Torrey Craig who comes back, Horford, Cornette, this team can be really, really solid once again in this Eastern Conference and can officially then reset. The best part is, as well, going into next season with Anthony Simons being on an expiring deal, following when Jayson Tatum does come back, Simons will then be off the books. So the Celtics can either then renegotiate a deal following with Anthony Simons to kind of bring him back on a team-friendly deal if they do like the fit, right, because he is 26, and they maybe can think he could be that third kind of star, similar to when they acquired a guy like Derrick White just a couple seasons ago to be that untapped potential piece, and maybe they think he can be that third star for this team, or they completely get off that contract if the fit doesn't work, and they have the flexibility once again to bring in other stars because they're the Boston Celtics, they're a big market, and they were just in the NBA championship a couple years ago and won, and they have Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and all these young pieces. Speaking on it from the Blazers part, once again, I do think for them this is a little bit of a difficult trade, but I do like some parts of it as well. Like Patrick mentioned, the Blazers were a solid defensive team in the second half of the year, and for them trying to rise up into these occasions here in the Western Conference, a player like Jrue Holiday does make sense to be that veteran locker room, help be a good leader for Scoot Henderson to try to bolster him up and have him at that backup point guard position. And then it allows for guys like Shaedon Sharpe, Toumani Camara, Denny Avdija to also grow within this lineup. It was seemingly it did seem like a guy like Anthony Simons was kind of out the door in Portland, maybe gearing to last season, even into this season. So it does kind of make sense for them to kind of move off of him. Maybe they find this replacement in Jrue Holiday. Maybe they still, once again, reroute a guy like Jrue Holiday, again, away from Portland and onto another team. But if Holiday is staying with this Portland squad, he can be a great leader for a guy in Scoot Henderson, can fit in well as a, third, fourth option for a young contending team and for a squad, right, that saw the success of Detroit adding veterans and Houston adding veterans and Oklahoma City adding veterans over these last couple of seasons. I think a team like Portland is ready to take that strike and maybe add a guy like Jrue Holiday who they feel can be one of that Fred VanVleet type of Dylan Brooks type of esque player for them, and that can help them transcend to become getting into their next phase of being competent in the Western Conference here. Ultimately, the Celtics traded away Jrue Holiday and had to give up first round picks to do so, but in this trade, getting back, sending out Jrue Holiday, and they also get second round picks alongside a great player, Anthony Simons. I really like this deal. Like I said, I wish Jrue Holiday but the best of luck in Portland, but Anthony Simons, in my opinion, is going to be an absolutely great fit for this Celtics squad, and I can't wait to see what he can bring in this green and white going into this season. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys ultimately think of what the Boston Celtics can do this offseason and how it's really going to affect these other moves, because once again, they still need to shed $18 million in salary to drop below that second apron, and the Celtics are definitely going to be eyeing that with other key contracts. So keep your eyes out. The Celtics will still be getting involved in things, but Brad Stevens strikes once again with another late night trade, and it's an absolutely beautiful one where you have to keep your trust in the GM. So once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate all the support. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a great rest of your night, and go Boston Celtics. Peace out, everyone.